It's really important to get the perspectives of the likes of BHP, Anglo American, Rio Tinto, Alcoa at the events. But we also still attract to the sort of the bread and butter of the events as well, the investors along as well, and the junior miners that might become the next Barrick or might go and become the next Fortescue along to the events.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Resourcing Tomorrow Divisional Director Andrew Thake. Andrew, great to speak with you. Just a few days to go until the conference. How are preparations for Resourcing Tomorrow shaping up?
Well, preparations are just about there. We've got a really exciting lineup this year happening over the entire week. So really sort of excited to be welcoming over 2,100 attendees from over 90 countries to the event.
So, as you said, over 2,100 sea levels, you've got representatives from more than 90 countries. How does Resourcing Tomorrow help mining companies forge partnerships that can actually drive investment, Andrew?
Yeah, so one thing which we've looked to really pivot towards over the last few years is getting more players in the entire value chain along. Probably pre-COVID, we mainly had junior miners attending the event, but now we've made a real effort to attract the majors and the mid-tiers, the governments as well, and other players in the value chain. It's probably worth us dwelling a little bit on the governments. Um, on the day before Resorting Tomorrow starts, on the 1st of December, we have at the London Stock Exchange a government roundtable that has 64 governments attending this year, including 27 of ministerial level. And that's really important because that sets the scenes for discussion around G7 critical minerals policy. And we find that when the governments come along, they bring all the other players within the ecosystem along as well. So that really helps the discussions as well. Getting the majors and mid-tiers along, it's really important to get the perspectives of the likes of BHP, Anglo American, Rio Tinto, Alcoa at the events. But we also still attract to the sort of the bread and butter of the events as well, the investors along as well, and the junior miners that might become the next Barrick or might go and become the next Fortescue along to the events.
Looking at this year's speakers lineup, Andrew, what trends or opportunities should investors be watching?
Well, I think in terms of trends, in terms of commodities, let's just talk about like gold first. It's obviously been on a significant run, I guess, since President Trump came into power. So a lot of our mining companies are gold focused. So certainly, I think that that's a trend to sort of like look at as well. I think as well is that there's still the long-term overall trend of the energy transition, and that's still really important. But obviously, just due to defense and security concerns, we're getting a lot more discussion around secure and resilient supply chains. So there is certainly a little bit more interest in those rare earth players and in some of those critical mineral miners as well. And then we link that into content that we have at the program. So two very popular sessions at this year's event will be our session on defense critical minerals, where we have the likes of NATO speaking. And then we've also got a special session on Ukraine and the opportunities for mining in a hopefully soon post-war Ukraine situation, where we've got the Deputy Minister of Ukraine who'll be speaking at the event, along with a number of other high-profile dignitaries as well.
How about artificial intelligence, Andrew? That must be high on the agenda of many mining companies at the moment.
Yeah, so it's interesting in terms of because it comes in like a couple of ways. Obviously, how one uses artificial intelligence and data in terms of areas such as exploration. So we've got like Fleet Space are running a leadership roundtable on that. And also, I guess that's how you can use it at like all stages of the mining process, not just exploration, but also production as well. We've also got another session as well in terms of are we looking at sort of like critical minerals the right way and what's next for like critical minerals and for the mining industry. So when you think about AI and you think about all these robots we're going to have, I forget if it's 50 million robots we're expecting in the next 10 years, that's going to require a lot of like minerals and a lot of like critical metals. So do we have the sort of like supply sort of like for that and what are the implications?
And maybe just finally, how have the themes evolved from Resourcing Tomorrow 2024 and how have you built on them for this year's event?
Yeah, so we've really like looked to I guess the main the innovations that we've actually looked to sort of like bring in rather than making it bigger and sort of better and shinier is definitely bringing these leadership roundtable discussions at the event. And we've certainly found that we've had a huge take up. I've mentioned defense before, I've mentioned Ukraine, but we've also got sessions on standards. We've got sessions run by Mining 2030 and the team by Adam Matthews. Um, we really sort of like really aim to set our standards high and go and get even bigger and better like keynotes and try to get some speakers that we haven't heard from. So we've got Dino Otranto flying all the way across from Australia from Fortescue for the first time ever. We've also got a We've also got a session run by Martin Sorrell, the advertising guru, talking about how mining can rethink itself as a brand. So we look to not just rest on our laurels. We look to sort of look at last year's program every year and say, how can we make it better? How can we evolve it? And if we grow the quality of the program and we grow the quality of the attendees, then we find that everyone who's coming to Resource tomorrow next week is going to have an absolutely spectacular event.
I look forward to catching up with you at the conference, Andrew. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
Andrew Thake, Divisional Director for Resourcing Tomorrow.